A message from C100. This is going to be a life story of mine up until this point. My views on this world as a whole and everything in between. Got a new camera set up. Nothing fancy at all, but it gets the job done, and I'm going to use it. Everything that I see to this world today has led me into a predicament that I didn't think I was going to be in. I didn't think I would be here, right now, still in the same situation I have been since my childhood. I thought I would have achieved so much farther, so much grander than everything I have currently here today. I make this claim because ever since I was a youth, I've always dreamed of doing something more, something better, something higher for society, not just myself. I would look to heroes at the time of my youth, like Dr. King, seeing him during his I Have a Dream speech, waving to the crowd, the mass of thousands of people at that time I perceived to be millions, all there gathered to watch him and what he had to say. And even though as a child I would barely speak at all in any scenario or situation I was in, always being more quiet and only speaking when it came to little niche topics on television, TV shows that I used to relate to because I couldn't go outside. I wasn't allowed to go outside because I lived on what was perceived to be a dangerous block in a dangerous neighborhood filled with people of color, black people just like me, Africans, Haitians, Jamaicans, any sort or caliber you can imagine. I am a black man from New York, born and raised in Queens, and I come to let you know that society as a whole has not treated me the way that I believe I should be treated. Has not treated everybody evenly, according to the way I see the world, according to my view or perception of the world. I started out as a youth in a small elementary school filled with nothing but colored children just like me. And from a very early age, from the first time I was taken out of my mother's arms into that institution, went in there screaming, hollering, crying. Because that is not the situation I wanted to be in. Those first 5 years were sweet. They were sweet. Woke up every day, got to see my parents, got to go to the institutions that they sent me to that was not school. Usually they would be religious institutions where there were more friends and family over there. There were more children and people for me to relate to. Or I went to babysitters because my parents did nothing but work to maintain the house that I'm still currently in to this day. Once that plan shifted, once it changed and there was now time for me to go to institution, I didn't know it was going to be a ride I was going to overall dislike and hate for the rest of my time in institutions, in education fields, in universities. But from a very early age, I had made a friend. And that friend did what most people under today's standards would say, throw you under the bus. I was no older than 6 when I started to realize there's status and social orders you gotta climb up in this world. There are kids who are more popular than others. There are people with more money than others. There's a hierarchy going around. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone gets the same opportunities. Life's not fair. And this continued on all the way from pre-K into middle school, into other places like that, where I was thrown under the bus, butt of everyone's jokes, Not because I didn't know how to tell a joke per se. It's because still at that point in time, I only wanted to see the good in people. Because I assumed everybody had the same type of background that I had. I didn't know because I wasn't allowed to go out to certain places, allowed to hang out with certain people, that that affected how people acted around each other. From my view and my perspective, everybody just went to school, everybody went back to the house, everybody watched TV, and the cycle continued on and on and on again. It wasn't until I finally got into around middle school, if not the end into high school, that I started to realize I need to fend for myself, I need to talk for myself, I need to define what I want to do out of this life, or I will continue to be at the butt of everyone's joke, continue to be considered an unwanted and unfavored individual for the rest of my time. So it was around this time, early high school, freshman year, around 14 years of age, where I finally decided, you know what? I am going to make a stance. I am going to make a change. I'm going to do something with my life. I decided to take up extracurricular activities, sports for this instance. I joined the track and field team. And when I say, from the second I stepped onto that fielding team, it was not my first time in extracurricular activities. I had tried basketball, I had tried swimming in middle school. I failed at those. I didn't care for those. I didn't see a point. I was still trying to wrap my head around social hierarchies in society and ways you have to act and ways of being. When I finally got to high school, that's when I finally decided I'm going to make this work for me. And if it doesn't work for me, I ain't got anything else. I found out that I was one of the most unathletic people on the entire track and field circuit. No matter what sport, discus, sprinting, long distance, hurdles, jumping, I was subpar to pretty much every other freshman on the field and team. It was so subpar to the point where the coach decided to kick me off the team for the rest of the spring season. And it was at this point when I realized if I were to come back to this, if I were to come back and do this, I gotta put my all. I gotta work hard. This isn't going to come easy to me the way it's going to come easy to other people who may be more talented in this field. So I put in the work, and I put in the work. I'll be first one out of class, onto the field, last one out of the field, into the weight room, longest spending time in the weight room, always watching, paying attention, focusing on drills. I even got a nickname at the time. Others on my team that were much faster, much stronger, much more successful overall during that period of time of high school started to call me coach for a little while. I thought I gained some status, started to carry myself more different, stand taller, look more affirmative. Life was starting to switch around for me. But some things didn't change. The mental damage that was done from pre-K all the way up into high school still affected how I viewed myself. Still had problems talking to people, still had problems making friends, still had problems expressing myself. Got to the point where even when I tried to express myself out, it would come out as anger. Every time I tried to make a point, every time I tried to see the world from my perspective and let anybody else on my team or in the school know, didn't work out. I came off as angry. I came off as a perfectionist. I came off as try hard. Too good for everybody else. They didn't know what my background was like. I didn't tell them, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered. After all the training I did, after all the hard work I did, I became so much more better, faster, and confident in myself than I was when I first started high school. But by the end of it, it was clear as day I wasn't going anywhere with sports. It wasn't good enough. Didn't hit the times. It started to get to me psychologically. No matter how hard I worked, plateau, another race loss, another race loss, another race loss. Again, I started to think the world was against me yet again. I finally thought I was going to get to a point where I was going to accomplish something. The world hit me again. This path just isn't for you. Just isn't. Just isn't. Teammates started losing respect for me. Juniors, freshmen, sophomores running times faster than me. Been plateaued at the same point for months, years. Absolutely no breakthrough. Finally, at the end of high school, one of the last meets ever, I'm in a race. I'm thinking I'm going to win the heat that I'm in. I'm running. At this point, I don't care. I'm not getting into any college for this sport. I'm not getting any awards. I'm not getting any scholarships for this. I'm just trying to run my heart out. I'm beating the person in the lane right next to me. I'm first. I'm running. Coming through the last 3 hurdles. It was a team I picked, focused all my time into. Lost it. Hit the hurdle, fell to the ground, almost snapped my leg. Too bad it didn't happen. All the cheering I heard from people on my team just went, down. 4 or 5 people passed me, came in like 4th, if not 5th. It was over. Felt as if God was just laughing in my face at that time. And that is where I made probably one of the biggest changes I've had so far. Now I stopped thinking it was just people doing me dirty. Now I started to question if it was God who just put me on this earth to laugh at me. Got very, very philosophical at this point. Coming into college, all 4 of those years that I spent building up pride for myself, out the window. I was basically back at where I was again. In middle school, absolutely no confidence, absolutely no drive. Everything I put my hard work and effort to was for naught, was for waste. Individuals who I thought I would keep in contact to or with from middle school, from elementary, even from high school, didn't keep contact with any single last one of them. Didn't call, didn't text, didn't FaceTime. It would always be me going to check in on them. They never coming back to check in on me. No friends, no goals or ambitions, just going by the winds of life. I started to build an inferiority complex. Everybody else in life was given a better hand in this situation than me. Everybody in this life was given more honor or respect and valor than me. This started to affect my schoolwork. I was actually a pretty decent student in high school. Pretty decent. Wasn't valedictorian, wasn't honor roll, but I was on the higher end of students getting the grade point average. Low A minus range. Once I hit high school, when I hit college, all of that out the window. Couldn't care anymore. I just didn't. Life had done me dirty for too damn long. I was done with everything. Didn't have any faith anymore in the shallow words of encouragement my family was giving me, because they just didn't live the life I was living. Couldn't rely on the few handful of friends I thought I had that I made over the years stopped keeping contact with me, decided to keep and make more time and effort for contact with other friends that they met after me, no matter what experiences we had together or not. Realized that my dreams of being an athlete were going out the window. Spent all that time and energy was for not, for nothing. Was for nothing. Finally, I decided during that time I would try to make some new friends. During this time, finally decided to get into relationships. Started to get over the trauma of being the one always picked on. Starting to get over the trauma of not using my voice and speaking. Started to finally say, you know what? Let me just try to be a regular person. Let me not try to be a overachiever anymore. Maybe my childhood dream was just for naught. I'm still young. I just started college. Let me try to be a regular person. It fell through yet again. Couldn't relate to people who went to parties. Couldn't relate to people who had multiple sexual partners. Couldn't relate to people who were going out drinking or getting drunk. No matter how hard I tried to fit in, at the end of the day, my viewpoint and how I see life from how I raised was different from theirs. Like all my other friends before them, kept away from me, distanced themselves from me. Whatever little pieces of status or friendship situations I was starting to build crumbled yet again. It didn't even take the whole 4 years. Didn't even take the whole 4 years. It was as simple as let me just make sure this is working. It was as simple as a year and a half in, people started rooting against me. People started to try to clown me again. People started to throw me under the bus. Women, men dismiss me, loser mentality, all over again. Something in me snapped though. I remembered what I had accomplished in those 4 years of high school. I remember how far I had gotten by myself. I wasn't taking that anymore. I wasn't taking it anymore. I just started to do things that I never did before. Even though I would see the hint of dismissal, the hint of you're lesser than somebody else, the hint of you're just a loser coming from anybody else, oppress them. If not, consciously run up in their face, screaming at them. I'd start belittling them myself. I started using the one thing that I had been acquiring and building my entire life up until that point. My brain. It'd be the one tool I haven't been using. And I'm not talking in terms of academics, trying to go to become an A+ student. And I already told you I had no care for that anymore. I was tired of going back to school systems, getting quote-unquote great grades and getting nothing in return for it. No valor, no new friendships, no awards. I was done with it all. But my ability to think, my ability to put two and two together, and my ability to realize this world works in ways that people aren't talking about. There are things going on behind the scenes that most people don't really know about. There are just certain subjects or topics that people don't care to talk about. This is when I started going down the route of conspiracies, rabbit holes, government orders, Illuminati and such, cloning, aliens. I went down the whole rabbit hole. It became my new favorite subject. Ancient, hidden, lost African history. I went down a whole rabbit hole and I tried to push this onto the people that I was currently going to school with. Still didn't work. Still didn't work. Long story short, one incident after another, I was out of it. Entirely stopped going to school. But I can tell you what incident it was. 2020. Something happened worldwide. Something happened worldwide that caused everybody to kind of make a shift now in what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Also, financial issues kicked in as well. I dropped it, started the workforce. They said, you know what? Let's forget about this for right now. Let's just go and hop into the workforce. Let's just go and do it. Let me just go and do it. Started up in the workforce. I had never felt better. I had never felt better than when I first started to truly get into the workforce. My first job, they ended up firing me from it. It was Target, horrible job. Any retailer, store, anything like that, never will work there again. Horrible places for work, horrible. But when I started working, my second job, that is the job that I decided to get into. And it was really around that time that I started reading more and more books about how to make income. Because you see, if you haven't realized, there's a pattern about me that never desists. There's a pattern about me that keeps going on no matter what happens. And it's that there's this underlying thought in my mind still. I can be successful. This avenue failed. I get depressed. I can be successful. This avenue fails. I get depressed. I can be successful. This avenue fails. And everybody will teach you in books like Think and Grow Rich. You can get any of these books you want. Great reads, promise you. How to Talk to Anyone. Haven't read that book yet, but somebody gave it to me, took it anyways. .com secrets. I started to realize history books about people going on. This is my conspiracy rabbit hole. Bypassing all other books you may have. I even started reading this book more because it's a mentality. It's a mentality that I always had. No matter what happens, there's always a way out. My brain would not let me sit down and believe for a fact I would be regular. My brain, for a fact, would not sit down during any point and let me believe I was regular. I fought against it, actively fought against it. How could I be? Everybody treated me different. From the time I was a child, everybody just had an inclination to treat me different, act differently around me because of my upbringing, because of the way I was raised, because I decided to follow and believe in how I was raised, the morals and principles that I was taught, that I can already tell 99.9% of society does not, quote unquote, believe in or does not come to figure out until the later half of their lives. So of course, a lot of young people who are only concerned about what's going on right here, right now. We're not concerned about values, morals, principles from any of the books that I've listed or just shown you, or anything that my family, my parents built something from the ground up, have come to list out and teach me in their lives. What was I going to do? What was I going to do? Either hate myself for the way I am and what I knew and what I believed in, or just believe there was something more than me, because I already tried it for around 18 to 19, if not 20 years to try to assimilate into society. It didn't work out. It wasn't working out for me. How could still, to this day, right now, you tell me I'm still a regular person with quote unquote regular people who living regular lives would not even treat me that way? Treat me as if I'm supposed to feel and act as if I'm less than them. You ain't gonna get that shit from me. And maybe it's this type of speak. Maybe it's this type of bravado that I just carry myself with, despite not having everything that society would tell you you would need to have to carry this type of mentality. Maybe I've always carried myself like this, and that's why people treat me as if I am better than them. Maybe. But after 22 some odd years, you think it's gonna change now? No, it won't. What has been my latest endeavor? What has been my latest endeavor? My latest endeavor has been astrology. This has been the latest thing that has been on my mind, that has been on my forefront, that I am going after and proving to be right to me. Because it encompasses everything that I realize about myself, everything that I realize about the world, to be true. To be true. To be the way that it's supposed to be. God did ordain my life to be this way. It was God, the creator, the fundamental creator of all things. It wasn't the people. It wasn't my family members. I don't hate anybody. I don't want to attack anybody. None of that. None of that at all. But I had to come to a realization. I had to find out why me. Out of anybody else in my family or in my city or in my town, why me? I had to come to the conclusion of that. I had to find that out, because nobody can give me the answers. This is who I am. I will share with you my astrological journey. Catch y'all next time.